Welcome, everyone. You are about to embark on a journey through the universe as you indulge in this extraordinary essence of enlightened, empowered, evolved. Let the show begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Just in time. Greetings, everyone. I'm Luke Bryan Smith, and welcome to Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved, where we educate, motivate, and liberate you through enlightening dialogues, empowering music, and evolving content. I know everyone is doing well, and everything is unfolding perfectly. I'm excited yet again because I have another extraordinary guest who is going to talk about money. And I would say that he's a financial coach. Not sure if that's the right title, but a coach in regards to finances, to money. But without further ado, allow me to introduce to you Stacy in Henderson. How are you doing, Stacy?
Yay! Yeah, I'm great. I'd say I'm like extremely great about 95% of the time
Right.
for the last 20 years.
That's absolutely amazing. And I love hearing that. And I think just you saying that right there is powerful because it puts me even in a higher frequency, on a higher frequency, and everyone else that's watching. Someone could be watching, like feeling down, and they heard you say that. Yeah, for the last 20 years. Okay, yeah. It's contagious. Yes, amazing. And I just wanted to say that I believe that time is one of our most precious assets. And for you to spend a moment of your time in the history of your timeline here with me on Enlightened, Empowered, Evolve, I just want to extend my sincerest gratitude to you. Thank you very much, Stacy, for being here with me at this present moment.
Well, thank you. And I can confidently assume that you've also got to a point in your life where you realize that true happiness comes from being of service. There's a point at which I think there's like a level where, and I experienced this in my late 20s and early 30s,
Right.
where I had to fix my own life. And then when I was at a certain point, I realized that what made me happier, not more stuff, but happier, was being of
Yes.
service and building, that feeling of safety by actually providing value to the world and being somebody.
That's
And I think
amazing
that's
that
why
you're saying that. And it's not even and I have to excuse me while I divert my attention real quick, but why I'm saying this, and you'll know why I'm diverting my attention. It is not a coincidence that you just said that. It's not, because today, as I was working, I had my headphones in, okay, and I'm gonna look it up. I couldn't make this up, and I was listening to this segment entitled "Within You Is the Power" by Henry Thomas Hoblin. He's a gentleman from long ago, probably as you can see from his appearance, probably from the early 1900s.
nice, yes.
So anyway, that's what he was talking about towards the end of the segment, about the correlation with true happiness and being of service. Exactly that. And I just finished listening to it.
Yeah, amazing.
As I was on my
Amazing.
way home, I finished up the last segment, and that's exactly what he was talking about, being of service. And
Yeah,
then here
Luke,
you are.
I don't know where we're going with this thread or if there's a direction we want to take this, but I think for me to be of service,
Right,
I need to start by being of service to myself,
right,
and I need to focus on me.
right.
And what I see here in my world, I see people that there is a certain point, and it's a subjective point where I have to fix my own life to a
Mm,
certain level,
right.
and then I can be of service. Like if I'm still not making my bed, I still haven't told my parents I love them, I'm still late to work, I still live beyond my means, and various other really simple, I always think of the Karate Kid with the wax on, wax off
Max off.
stuff.
Right.
Like those basics. Once somebody has achieved that, and has learned what they need to learn to get to that point where they make their bed, they get up on time, they're on time to work, they're somewhat joyous and proud of who they are, then I see a lot of people who continue to focus on their own, it becomes a greed state But I think
Right.
as soon as somebody gets to a level of being able to manage themselves, if they start being of service, that's when real abundance starts to come in, and it's not just in a
Right.
financial sense. And
And that,
I assume that you get that. Like I get that feeling from you, and the
yes,
fact that you
yes,
host this
amazing.
event.
And I also think that it's not just what you tell people, is what they see. Uh, the reflection that you're giving off, in regard to being of service to yourself. If you understand what I mean,
Mm.
like you can tell when someone is being of service to themselves, like they're working on themselves. They have certain um um formats that they're following, and disciplines, and just things of that nature in regard to their health, in regard to everything, their appearance, and uh, 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 the way they articulate themselves, and the way they work on things. And it's just, yeah, I hope I'm not rambling on, but yes,
No,
yes,
you're
I
absolutely
totally
right.
understand.
And
Yes.
the more I don't want to use the word successful has so many connotations and so much
Right.
subjective meaning, and people have their own version of that. Someone can be successful and have no money, or someone can be successful
Right.
and have only money, and it's all subjective. And it's usually a voids create values types thing. If you heard that from John DeMartini, voids
Right.
create values. If my version of success is being a big buff dude, it's probably because I've had issues from not being a big buff dude. Anyway,
Right.
for me
Yes.
nowadays, at this point, I'm 48. I'm very happy with where I am. I am in a point of, I've gone through what the Robert Kiyosaki. If you've read Rich Dad Poor Dad, there's a process when it comes to building wealth.
Mm,
Employed, self-employed, business owner, investor. I'm
right.
merging between business owner, investor. I'm more of an investor than I am a business owner nowadays.
Right.
And for me now, it's come not back to the making the bed. It's not that beginner type, not beginner, but it's like those early foundational things. Now, my primary focus is actually the foundation.
Mm,
Like it's 10 a.m. here in Sydney.
right.
I've been up since 4:30. I've done my 20-minute meditation. I've done my hour of yoga. I've been listening to really good podcasts. I book in walk and talks here on Bondi Beach 3 mornings of the week, and I've had a really inspiring 8-kilometer walk with an anxiety coach who's we're potentially going to work together because finances and anxiety are basically the same thing for a lot of people.
Right. Right.
I bumped into a bunch of high caliber friends and spent some time with them. Had a sauna in my local club, went for a swim in the beach, come back here, have a nice healthy breakfast. I'm ready just in time for 10 o'clock. I have a 5-hour morning routine,
Wow.
and that's what I focus on. I'm in a privileged position to be able to do that. However, I
Mm,
also created that. It's a
amazing.
priority for me.
Amazing. And that you right there, you just defined exactly what I was talking about. Somebody that's being of services to themselves, and someone that's working on themselves, and just being successful. You have a certain routine. I have a certain routine when I get up. I get up really early as well. Not that early, but I have, I do my meditation. I exercise. I run up and down stairs. I mean, I get myself going, and I have a lot of writing that I do, journaling, and uh, affirmation work that I do, and just reading before I even get the day started. You
Yeah.
know, all
Look,
that starts first,
Look,
I
I want to think of the people that are watching this, and if they've clicked on a title that refers somewhere in some way to financial wellness or removing financial anxiety or building wealth or anything like that, I want to tie what we've already talked about directly
right.
to finances.
Okay.
Because for me, personal finance, and just to be clear, there's a distinction between the industry of finance, which is the algorithms and the robots trading shares in Wall Street, versus my personal relationship with my own money. Money in
Okay.
my case, in this case, in that Wall Street scenario, I don't know if it's fair to really say that money is a store of energy in that context. I wonder. That's an interesting exploration for me. But in a personal life, money is a store of energy. It's
Mhm.
the ability for me to sit on a couch for 6 months if that's what I choose to do, because I have energy stored up to fund that journey, right?
Wow.
So my relationship with my morning routine didn't just start.
Mm,
I didn't just, well, actually, nowadays I can just wake up on, it's usually September the 5th. It's fallen on a Monday a few times. where I'll have a really lazy winter and I'll put on a bunch of weight and I'll have these, whatever. But that's once again a privilege of my situation. I take 6-month holidays most years. Not really holidays, but adventures. But for me, when I built my personal finances, the relationship with my personal finances, it didn't just happen. It wasn't just like this magical switch. It was a process of making one small agreement, and that in the early days, it's discipline, but we have a limited capacity with our discipline. Like we can't just continue to be disciplined. We have to eventually build systems. And so my morning routine is a multi-layered stack of systems. I didn't wake up one day, suddenly do 20 minutes meditation, an hour of yoga, an 8-kilometer walk, whilst prior to that listening to a high-level podcast, which is related to my business, and then spending an hour with a high-caliber coach whilst bumping into a bunch of millionaire friends. That didn't just happen. That began with first waking up at 5. And the benefit of waking up at 5 meant that eventually I was so tired that I had to go to bed by 9. Going to bed didn't happen first. Waking up did. I pushed that. So just like with personal finances, the people often think with their morning routine and with their finances and with a lot of other stuff, health and wellness, fitness, building muscle, that it has to happen quickly. But with money, we have a long life ahead. Doesn't really matter how old you are. Building a good relationship with our money doesn't have to happen instantly. The first thing somebody could do is read a document on what is Bitcoin, what is an ETF, what is, what's that? Vanguard. What is Vanguard? How does that work?
Yeah.
Or how do you buy a property? Literally go to an open home. Go to an open home and talk to the scary real estate agent. Like those baby steps, they're not hard. You're just like literally an investment of a few minutes. But what that is slowly building a relationship with my personal finances, just like the morning routine. And then I layer it on and I layer it on. And over a 6-month period or even a 3-month period, I build that so-called 21 days of consistency with the meditation. Then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to roll out the yoga mat and just do some, what do they call it? Yin or yoga nidra, where you just kind of lay down and stuff. And then, after a week, like right now I'm on to 90 push-ups in the morning.
Okay.
It started at 20. 20 is not going to change my life. It's not going to make me rich or poor. $20 a week into some kind of automated investing strategy, it's not going to make me rich or poor.
Right.
But it's going to build that relationship. It's going to build that slow muscle that, hey, I said I was going to do it. I'm doing it. And now I actually am starting to fall in love with my own money, which is, I think, the core of the problem. People have an abusive relationship with their finances.
Yes.
So you know your audience better than me. If you could maybe you just tap into your audience and think, okay, what are some of the key, let's say 3 issues that you think they might be struggling with that I can potentially help with so we can target some real things?
I would say this, but before I say that, I want to say that you reminded me just everything that came up that you mentioned of a book that I read by a man named Brendan Burchard, and it's called High Performance Habits. And it's exactly what you were mentioning. In that book talks about everything that you do. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But yes, I would say to start off with let's talk about this debt. How do you get out of that? I mean, how does that happen? I mean, I know how it happens, but in your perspective, let's tell us about debt. I think a lot of people have a lot of credit card debt. How can they turn that around and start building some wealth? I mean,
well, that's so interesting. That's so interesting because when you said about that book of habits, the Brendan Burchard thing,
high
there are
performance
two
habits.
ways. There are two like from as a transformational coach, let's say, there are 2 ways to address a problem. Like I quit alcohol. I was quite a severe drinker and a weed smoker and all various other things. I've quit alcohol slowly and failed many, many times. And then with alcohol, there's pretty much only one way that I'm aware of that in my life at least, and that's just stop totally and go through all the yucky stuff. When I started my financial journey, I was building a business that was for small business owners, and it came with a spreadsheet where I would get like customers, the concept was to get people to actually fill out a spreadsheet to assess the income and expenses of a self-employed person. So in that context, there's all these different business expenses, but because I was self-employed, living from home with a home office, as I went through the spreadsheet, I thought, well, this is really interesting. It's giving me the so-called profit and loss of my business. But then when I added in like, oh, the magazines are kind of for work, and then when I have a coffee, and I ended up putting in all my personal finance, they were all mixed in. Then I split them in half. Then I had this epiphany one day, maybe I should put my business on one side, my personal finances on the other. When I did that, I realized that the money that was coming in wasn't covering the money that was going out. Even though I thought I was doing well, I
Right.
realized I was actually going backwards by about $60 a week
Mm.
after everything. And that to me was just like, oh my God, no, this is not
Right.
okay. So
Right.
I packed in. Here's the thing. I had a two-bedroom apartment overlooking the beach. I had my own office. I had like a wine subscription and a magazine subscription and a gym subscription, and you name it. This was 15 something years ago, 16, 20 years ago nearly. When I realized that I was going backwards, I didn't just go, oh, that's shit, I'm going to cancel the wine subscription and the magazine subscription. No, quite the opposite. I went full ninja because and here's the thing, look, I had like I'm pointing I look at it often. It's my vision board and it sits right there because I
Right.
knew what I wanted to create in the future. And so
Right.
that was pulling me towards a better life and helping me to build that discipline and fix my problems.
Mm.
I think so. For me, I moved out of that two-bedroom apartment with the ocean view, and I moved into I don't know what you call it where you are, but a share house where there was bunk beds and backpackers, and it smelled like socks, and there was people like waking me up all through the night. My
Oh,
rent
okay.
went from probably like 700 or 800 a week down to $80 a week, and I
Okay.
did what basically a financial atonement. I went hard. I
Mm.
was like, okay, how long do I want to sit in this position for? Like, there's
Right.
only one solution to this, which is spend less.
Mm.
It's the only solution. I mean, you can promise yourself to go and earn more and win lotto and like, you
Right.
know, meet some rich person who's going to gift it to you. But the
Right.
reality is, you're probably not going to earn more.
Right.
You maybe in the long term you'll get a slow pay rise that might beat inflation, etc.
Right.
But the only way to win is to just, for me, attack it like with everything I've got. The guy I walked with this morning, he was $20,000 in debt. He decided one day that he had had enough. He slept on the floor in his friend's house and he paid that 20 grand off in 3 months. And then he
Mm.
saved another 20 grand, right? And he
Yeah.
gave 5 grand to his mate and said thanks. But like you got two choices. You can like, I don't know, hope and do little things.
Yeah.
That's just my approach. But I'm
Discipline.
like quite look, it's just like how long do you want it to last for? There's not really any other way around it.
Right.
You can meditate on it. You can like draw
No,
pictures about it, but
no,
there's
I like
only
that.
one way.
I like
Spend
that.
less.
Spend less.
No, spend nothing.
Yeah.
Like go
Discipline
hard.
yourself.
I don't know how long it takes. Look, I know in America you guys have been sucked into these huge
Oh,
student loans and these massive credit card debts and stuff.
right.
I personally, my program doesn't really work with those things. I work
Right.
with the leftover money that people have. Like,
Mm.
even if it's only $40 a week, it's like how do we build slow automated systems that build over time?
That's what I was going to ask you. So you're already starting to answer that. I was going to say, okay, so give me the beginner's guide or some information on how we can start building wealth with little money.
And you know what? I want to go back to the debt thing. And this is, I just to be really clear, I don't give any financial advice because I
Right.
don't know
Right.
anything about the other person on the other side of this camera right here, right? I have no idea.
Right.
Um, I do think from a relationship with money perspective, one thing that I like to think that I would do in a similar, let's say I had 50 grand in credit card or afterpay, I don't know what you call it over there, buy now, pay later, or
Right.
student loan or something like that. I think the one thing I would do is at least put 10 or 20 or $50 per week into an investment thing
Mm.
because it's building that positive habit as well as paying off the debt. Because the thing is that most people, once they do eventually pay off the debt, they tend to get into more debt. They're like, ah,
Again.
paid the debt off. Oh, let's buy a new car. Paid the debt off. Let's go on holiday. Paid the debt off. And they're constantly sitting in that zero because that's the habit they're in.
Right.
So I think to actually fall in love with the concept and become familiar and comfortable with how to buy shares, how to buy crypto, how to buy gold and silver, how to buy fractional property ownership through all these modern apps that we have. There are probably thousands of them. And you can go out and find out, or you can at least ask one of your friends, like, "Oh, hey, how do you do that?" The odds are they're going to be enthusiastic about helping you win.
Mm,
There's someone in everybody's world who's good at their money. It's just that there's this weird
right.
social thing where we're not supposed to talk about it. So
Right.
nobody knows who's good, nobody knows who's suffering and about to fall off a cliff, let's say, which is
Yeah.
a dumb thing that I want to fix.
Right.
So
Yeah.
did that answer the
Oh,
second question of like,
absolutely. And you just led me into another question. So what do you think about you just mentioned crypto. What's your perspective on crypto?
well, look, I studied when I kind of retired when I was 32, 33. Up until the age of 27, I was a broke, lonely, fat, sick, alcoholic, stoner with no friends, no relationship with my parents, terrible job, all that sort of stuff. And then for 5 years, from the age of 27 to 32, I went through a rapid life transformation and I worked on every aspect of my life. And then I pretty much retired. So as a result of that, I was like, what shall I do? I became a tour guide in Europe and I got paid to travel around and learn everything about Europe.
Oh,
In
wow.
learning about Europe, I learned about finances, macroeconomics, and how things like World War One and World War Two and the assassination of this person or the new king or the how Germany goes like this and France grows and shrinks and all that sort of stuff. That is economics. That's old school economic history. And
Mm,
so, as a result
wow.
of that, my understanding of economic macroeconomics and personal economics is quite deep.
Mm,
And so, therefore, I believe in what Bitcoin stands for. When I bought my first crypto about 8 years ago, it wasn't because I wanted to get rich. It was because I believed in the values and the philosophy and what it stood for. Now that's paid off
wow.
right nicely, but it was an expression of my beliefs. It's an anti, basically global banking system, World Bank kind of stuff. That's what Bitcoin really stands for. And to me, it was more of an expression of values.
Oh,
So
wow.
yes, I'm a big believer in it, but I understand it to a very high level. Um, so
Yeah, I
in fact,
don't.
it was what I was watching while I was having my breakfast before I sat down with you.
The Bitcoin and the blockchain as well. Is that
Yeah,
somewhere?
blockchain as a technology is
Right.
there's no that's definitely going to be part of the future. It is part of today,
Right.
but people don't even know where it is because it's just a tool.
Right. Right.
But yeah,
Yes.
Bitcoin's in
That's
my opinion.
amazing. And I'll ask you one more thing, and this is coming from me, is in regard to like your business. I like the way that you put that, and I didn't forget it earlier. And I totally agree with it. Employee, what way did you say it? Employee.
Employee, self-employed, business owner, investor. That's Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Right. And I'm at the point right now. I've been an employee for a long time. Now I have my own LLC. Can you give me some advice on how to really utilize that? I mean, financially, I'm talking about in regard to funding, seeking funding. What should I do? Give me just something.
Okay,
I know you don't give financial advice, but
no, no. Look,
just things that are out there to I don't know if I'm even saying this right to utilize what I have.
look. There's some really fundamental. I don't know if you've had businesses before. Some of the lessons
No,
that I've learned the hard way. If I was a Chelsea, if I was a company in Chelsea that fixed concrete fences,
right.
I wouldn't call it Whiz Bang Magoo. I would call it Chelsea Concrete Fence Fixing Company.
Okay.
That is such a macro lesson that people start a business and call it something that means a lot to them. I've been through that and it's cost me a fortune.
Mm,
It
wow.
really SEO with the word. What is the customer looking for? And to break it down to this really simple framework, because I do teach people how to leave their job and start a business.
Right.
I help people with their goals. Once people have got excited about their goals, then they need to fix up their money. Once they've fixed
Mm,
up their money, their mind is free. They're like, okay, what else can I possibly do? They want to start a business. And my
right.
passion is to help people actually leave the corporate system and start a business, right? So I've been through this baby phase literally 1,000 times with people that either have been my clients or my friends who I've seen doing dumb stuff. A business has a problem, solve a problem. What's the problem you solve, the solution you offer, and the person you do it for? Very specifically, the
Right.
exact problem, the solution, and the person you do it for. So if you can put that into a sentence, I mean, I don't know if you're going to be able to apply this stuff, but as far as like
No,
the top line of a
yes.
website, the
Right.
top line of a website, go from X to Y in Z amount of time. Like Jenny Craig, for example, lose 10, I don't know how many pounds, lose
Yes.
20 pounds. I don't know how much that is. Lose 20 pounds in 60 days. Lose 20 pounds in 60 days. I know I'm X. The goal is Y. I've got a time constraint. Go from X to Y in Z time. Um, Problem solution avatar, Chelsea concrete fence fixing company. Those three things I think are really good places to start.
Mm,
It removes a lot of ego, but also it makes you focus on one specific person who's suffering with one specific problem that you can solve, not because you've read a book and come up with an idea, but
right.
because it's proven if somebody was to run a computer through your brain and turn your life story into literally a spreadsheet full of things you did, and then printed it out and then got out an orange highlighter and a yellow highlighter and a blue highlighter and went through and looked for the three most common things that you have ever stood for wherever you spend your time, energy, focus, and money.
Right.
And literally got out three colored highlighters and looked for and the AI could find the three most common things and then created a Venn diagram and put them in the middle. And then that tiny little thing in the middle, that's what you should do for business. Not some
Okay.
idea about the future. It's what you already are a genius at. Everybody is a
Right.
genius at something. They just never analyze their life to a point where
Right.
they can see it. Like I
Right.
can do that with people. I can sit with someone for an hour and I can say, "You are already the best person I've ever met for this. Go and solve
Right.
that problem." Because right now, someone is crying on the side of their bed, having the worst day of their life, and the answer to
Right.
their problem is in your head.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
true for everybody listening.
And I resonate
Everybody.
with that. Everyone has a genius level talent.
Yeah.
Yes. Amazing. So, how can people find you and seek your services?
See, Bondi Fink, what is it? The Chelsea concrete fence fixing company. My
Yes.
name, Stacy and Henderson, is the handle on everything I do.
Okay. So,
Doesn't matter what platform you're on.
Stacy and Henderson. Okay. On
Mhm.
every platform.
.com, you name it.
.com.
Yeah,
Okay. There it
yeah.
is.
Because what I
Simple
know,
as that.
what for me, I've gone through a whole bunch of different ideas and businesses. I have run a bunch of other businesses too,
Right.
but this is my purpose-based one. This is what I'm out to make a difference on. And when it comes to what do I do, um, I help people be free, financially
Right.
free, free
Right.
from the past, free in a business sense, and it's really hard to put a name on that. Yeah.
And, but that's very, uh, in my perspective, very important in regard to freedom. Is you feel like when you're in financial, I would say, uh, dire straits or bind, you don't feel freedom at all when you
Look,
have this.
on the money side of things as well. I think one thing that people should really do is find other people in a similar situation to them. Find optimistic people who are prepared to take action. Don't sit in a crying circle. That's not going to solve anything. Find a bunch of people who are prepared to take the gloves off and do the work, get their hands dirty, sleep on the floor, whatever it might be, and go through it together. A mastermind, find a support group.
Wow.
They exist, they're out there.
Amazing, amazing. Well, I just want to thank you, Stacy, for coming on and sharing a bit of your expertise, a bit of your perspectives, and I appreciate you very much.
Thanks,
Yes.
dude.
Yes, yes. Thank you. And be sure, everyone, to go into the description of this segment. And you already know, just on all platforms, including .com. Check out Stacy and Henry.
Mostly Facebook. I've hired people, but the downside to taking 6 months off every year is that often my consistency is dived, which is why I'm doing a 1,000 day every day at the moment. So yeah,
And we're fortunate enough to reap the benefits of that right now. I
good on you,
appreciate
bud.
that.
Thanks for your time.
Yes. Yes. And thank you, everyone, for listening and or watching. Appreciate this. Appreciate your time. Be sure to share this. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe button. Yeah, get this out there. Check out the description as well. Check out the Enlightened Empowered Evolved website as well, 333empower.com. Appreciate everyone. Thank you for your support. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, love and appreciation to everyone.
Much love.
Enlightened, empowered, evolved. See you soon.